Well, hello! Do you remember when I did the Cadbury Dairy Milk Downsize video? We had a 250 gram block get reduced to 200 grams. Somehow, it was done and you could barely ever notice that 1/5 of the product had vanished. But not only that, the cocoa amount in the chocolate had changed. It went from 26% down to 21%. There was a consumer backlash to that change and Cadbury's increased the percentage back to 26%. But not only that, if you ate the nut variety of this chocolate, all of a sudden you found you had crushed nuts. I never ate the nut variety, but many people contacted me and said, Leo, all of a sudden we're dealing with all these nibbly bits of nut that we don't like. There has been a big change. Cadbury's must be trying to save their brand because there's been a new version brought out, and it looks like we've got back some of the things that we lost before. But this goes down as a lesson to many people out there. If you're going to change a brand, you only change one thing at a time, because the consumers will get angry, and when the consumers are angry, they're going to buy someone else's chocolate. And wow, now look, we've got 220 grams. They're shouting at us, there's 10% more. This is amazing, we're getting a bigger block. But not only that, the nut variety of this chocolate has got big full nuts. So we're going to take a look and see how big the nuts are. And what is most interesting is this Cadbury's upsize has happened at about the same time when Whittaker's have decided to go from 250 grams down to 200. Oh dear. Possibly the only saving grace here is that Whittaker's chocolate has 33% cocoa, whereas the Cadbury's has 26%. And the cocoa is the part that gives you the satisfaction. And when the Cadbury's downsize happened a couple of years back and I became a very angry bird, I went to another brand, and this is the brand that I now eat. I don't touch the others, I just went top shelf. And trust me viewers, you only need a little tiny piece of this to get your chocolate hit. Oh, I can feel the nuts. Well, let's stop being crazy, let's take a look at the product. Well, here is the 220 gram block of Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate. Isn't it very interesting? When there's an upsize, they want to make a big noise about it, but when they downsize, mum's the word. And we're going up here and looking at what they've got here. Oh, that looks nice, doesn't it? Very inviting. And we should look at the back. Talking about a peel and reseal packaging thing here. I'm not familiar with that. This is sort of the big thing, welcome to Joyville. And we should go in, and this is what you got to look for here. The percentage, the cocoa percentage. Let's check it out. Milk chocolate contains cocoa solids 26%. And the other thing to note is we've gone to this foil wrapping. We might as well open it up and stop yabbering. There's a peel and reseal thing. It says here to gently pull on this. I'm pulling, guys, but I'm not really seeing anything happen. What am I meant to do? Oh, okay, here it goes. I'm pulling away from the block. And maybe if I get my clumsy little finger in there, I'll be able to open it up. Oh, don't you love a little bit of chocolate unboxing? Oh, man, look at that. And then on the back here, it's got like a sticky, resealable, what would you call it? Funky stuff. I bet you 3M were behind that sort of thing 3M does. It's like a post-it note on the back of a bit of chocolate. Clever. And here I am unwrapping this upsize. Pretty rare to say upsize. And I wonder if the brainiacs who thought to reformat this product, if they've still got a job, because it really was strange to see all these changes happening to what was a classic brand. Wasn't it James Dyson that said you only change one thing at a time? Oh, look at that. That is spectacular. Man, I could eat a piece of that right now. And what I'll do is I'll open up a 200 gram block of the version before, if that makes any sense. It's got the, remember the old, oh look at that, that foil looks quite nice, doesn't it? I've been away from Cadbury's, but we'll take a look at this block versus, oh, what a smell, I love the smell of this. It's a very different look. Let's put them side by side. Well, here's the 200 gram, here's the 220, and remember when they made the change to this 200 gram, there was all these special words like mouthfeel, and it was easy to share, and I mean, give me a break. People just walked away from the brand, and now they've gone back to a block which looks very similar to the old 250 grams. So, geez, Cadbury must have had a huge wake-up call to do a backflip like that. And I think you're going to have hard press getting people back, but I can see that you're trying your best. And if I go and stack the 220 gram block on top of the 200 in the overall size appraisal, you can barely tell any difference. and it's only when you start to analyse the edge, you can see the 220 gram is a fair bit thicker than the 200, and that thickness is going to help us squeeze in the whole nuts. So we should go and take a look at the nut variety of this chocolate. Well, here is a nut version of this chocolate. This one's the old 200 gram. This is the new 220. Let's take a quick look at the 200. Oh, never got into the nut stuff. I know some people love it. Now let's look at the bigger one. The first thing we want to see is we get more joy. But the most important thing we want to see is with whole nuts. And it was interesting that people have contacted me and pointed out this change in the chocolate. But it looks like you've got your nuts back. Let's take a look. Well, this is the old style of SA, 200 gram. Let's get that foil off. And we're going to take a look at some nuts here. And we're going to take a comparison to the 220. Don't think I've quite mastered this opening thing yet. Oh, there it is. You've got to just pull away from the chocolate. Yeah, it's... Well, I suppose I would have had 1,000 people test that before it came to the market. Here is the 200 gram, here is the 220. And what is interesting here is the nuts do look more obvious on this skinnier bar. But that's part of being skinny, I feel. We're going to have to get in with the dental probe to see how big the nuts are. Okay, this is the 200 gram. And I'm going to try and pry out a nut or two out of here. I've got one out. There's a few bits here. Some of them are breaking up. We're breaking up, Captain. We're breaking up. Down in another corner here. One thing I can tell is that they're not full nuts that are coming out of here. And it doesn't help if I keep breaking them apart. This is actually far more difficult than I ever imagined. Getting nuts out of a chocolate bar. Imagine putting that down in your resume. What's your job? Oh, I extract nuts out of chocolate bars. Well, I wouldn't get a job at it because I'm not very good at it. It's a little bit like an archaeological dig. I'm digging for nut dinosaurs. Imagine trying to convince someone, what'd you do today? Oh, I was digging out these nuts out of the chocolate bar because some nutter thinks that everything's going bad in the world. Well, one thing I will say is everything, these nuts, well, they're crushed. You know, this is the thing, they've already been through a crusher. I can't pull out a whole nut. Everything's sort of, well, damaged goods. If that's the right or wrong thing to say, I don't know. I'm not finding much fruit. One thing I'll tell you. Well, there's one thing I will definitely say, there is no full nuts in here. There's a great example of one that I haven't broken in half. I don't know, it's about a quarter of a nut, maybe. Let's take a look at the other bar and see what we've got. Okay, this is the new block, the 220, the one that's telling us it's got full nuts. I'm going to try and get a nut out without breaking it. I couldn't find any full nuts in the 200 gram. And what I am finding is these little nuts are actually quite difficult to remove. And I might get a doctorate in this if I get one out in full. I was quite surprised at how difficult it is to get a nut out. And I'm still struggling here to get this nut out. It is in there like something from Ice Age. We'll keep fighting. I don't want to cut the tape. I want you to see this comes out as a whole nut. It certainly feels a lot bigger than what I was dealing with in the other bar. Come on, you nut. You're driving me nuts. Oh, okay. Oh, I've got it. I have got the nut. The nut is there, and it's a full nut. I mean, look at the size of that. Let's take a bigger look at that. In the end, I mastered the art of removing nuts, and I can see 3 whole nuts there. And there was nothing like that in the other block. So there you go, there's the old 200 gram, and there's a nut, and it's all crushed, and it's horrible, and a lot of people got very angry about that. I didn't know about it because I don't eat the nut variety, and there is the new version, the 220 gram, and we've got some full nuts. It's amazing the rage a little bit of crushed nuts can cause. You know, isn't it funny when you come in and analyse the changes that go on, and how strangely we've gone back to something that we had a couple of years back, but boy, we had to go through a lot of angst to get there. And the nut lovers have got their nuts back. And I think the moral of the story is, geez, Cadbury, wouldn't it have been better just to have not changed and stuffed around with what is a classic product? Many people love this product and you decided to come in and stuff it. Now I hope you've learned your lesson here, because I'm sure the consumers in the end always have the final say. And it looks like that finally you've started to listen to what they want. Thank you for that, but boy did it take you some time. Well, if you thought cola wars are bad, I can assure you chocolate wars are just as bad. And you've got to wonder, where does this leave Whittaker's, considering they've gone from 250 grams down to 200. They were very vocal when Cadbury made their change. I wonder what they've got to say for themselves right now. Anyway, I hope you learned something from this video. I certainly didn't, and bye for now.